World Health Organization announced that due to the lack of security warranties, it has had to suspend 4 humanitarian missions to northern Gaza. Brazil commemorates on Monday the first year of the coup attempt promoted by the far right. And in China, the government reported that the Secret Intelligence Service of the United Kingdom has been spying the country since 2015. Hello and welcome to From the South. My name is Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The World Health Organization announced that due to the lack of security warranties, it has had to suspend 4 humanitarian missions to northern Gaza. After confirming a new cancellation, the agency detailed that since December 26, they have not received warranties of elimination of security conflicts. The mission that was intended to deliver medical supplies for emergency operations for patients in 5 hospitals in that area of the enclave continues to await security authorizations. They also warned that these medical supplies are the only alternative for hundreds of patients who are dying as a consequence of the genocidal operation carried out by Israel in the enclave. On Sunday, staff from the World Health Organization and the United Nations Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs visited Al-Aqsa Baptist Hospital, the main hospital in central Gaza. The United Nations staff reported that medics, patients, and displaced people are fleeing from the hospital as the Israeli aggression draws closer. Losing the facility would be another major blow to a health system shattered by 3 months of constant bombings. Doctors Without Borders and other aid groups withdrew from the hospital in Deir al-Balah in recent days, saying it is too dangerous. According to the United Nations Humanitarian Office, only 13 of Gaza's 36 hospitals are even partially functioning. The health ministry said early Monday that 73 bodies and 99 wounded people were brought to the hospital in just the last 24 hours.
I'm in Al-Aqsa Hospital in the middle area of Gaza, the middle part of the Gaza Strip, in the emergency department where they're treating children, several children on the floor and on a gurney behind me, doctors calling out for scalpel and chest tubes. Many people coming in from an explosion. There's one child who unfortunately passed away whose body is not identified, and it's, as you can see, a chaotic scene. Unfortunately, this area is close to an area that was evacuated yesterday. An evacuation order was issued, and they've lost a lot of their staff. This hospital is currently operating with about 30% of the staff that it had just a few days ago. They are seeing, in some cases, hundreds of casualties every day in a small emergency department. Yesterday they said they had one doctor working overnight in this emergency department with hundreds, in some cases, of casualties coming in on a daily basis.
The Israeli government approved the creation of 2 new settlements in East Jerusalem to make way for the construction of Silicon Valley. Lawyers Muhammad Havara said that this project is an attack on business owners in the industrial zone and restricts Palestinian housing plans. Havara asserted that the Israeli authorities have presented this settlement as a new neighborhood and ignored the existing presence of the Arab neighborhood. In this context, the Israeli municipality, which initiated the plan in 2012, has already demolished some 70 residential and commercial buildings to carry out the project. In Iraq, the Iraqi resistance confirmed drone strikes against Israeli and U.S. bases as part of offensives in support of Palestine. According to a statement issued by the Iraqi resistance, the drone strikes targeted an Israeli army military base and in the occupied Syrian Golan Heights and another U.S. base located north of the Syrian city of Al-Aqsa. They also reported launched several attacks against Israeli strategic targets, including the port of Eilat in the southern occupied Palestinian territories and the Karish gas field in the Mediterranean. The Iraqi resistance reiterated that these offensives was in response to the killing of the civilians by Israel in the Gaza Strip and vowed to continue with the offensive until the campaign of aggression ceased. And also the Iraqi resistance shelled with more than 30 missiles the illegal U.S. military base in northern Syria. After the series of terrorist attacks that took the lives of several leaders in Syria, Lebanon and Iraq, groups loyal to the Palestinian cause announced a counteroffensive. The U.S. and Israel governments confirmed that they were responsible for the executions. For this reason, the resistance bombed the Al-Qaim al-Bukamal Pass and also the Ain al-Assad air base. The resistance groups joined by Yemen affirmed that this is a response to Washington's complicity in the genocide against the people in Gaza. Pope Francis condemns the immense tragedy and useless slaughter of civilians in conflicts such as in Gaza and says those killed should not be considered collateral damage in his New Year's address to diplomats at the Vatican.
Perhaps we need to realize more clearly that civilian victims are not collateral damage, but men and women with names and surnames who lose their lives. They are children who are orphaned and deprived of their future. They are individuals who suffer from hunger, thirst, and cold, or are mutilated as a result of the power of modern explosives. If we were able to look each of them in the eye, call them by the name, and learn something of their personal story, we would see war for what it is, nothing other than immense strategy and useless slaughter, one that offends the dignity of every person on this earth.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva led acts of repudiation to the coup attempt 1 year after the attempt of the ultra-right led by former President Jair Bolsonaro. Under the slogan of reaffirmation of democracy, more than 500 guests, including governors, parliamentarians and businessmen, gathered in the Black Room of the National Congress. The purpose of this meeting is to recall the attempted invasion of the presidential palace, the Congress and the Supreme Court of Justice by supporters of the ultra-right-wing ex-president Jair Bolsonaro. On Sunday, the Brazilian head of state addressed the Brazilian population to remind them of the victory of democracy over the depredation of the buildings. In Ecuador, President Daniel Noboa called an emergency meeting of his security cabinet on Sunday following the escape of the country's most dangerous drug trafficker and threats from criminal groups against the executive. The meeting, which was announced by Roberto Isurieta, Secretary General of Communications of the Presidency, would be aimed at making decisions. The National Prosecutor's Office has reportedly launched an investigation into the escape of José Adolfo Macías, known as Fito, leader of the bloody gang known as Los Colchoneros. Previously, and after announcements of exchanges in security matters, a criminal organization broadcast a video warning the president that Ecuador was not El Salvador. The agreements of the security conclave were not informed to the country.
We have finished the meeting with the Council of Public Security of the state with the presence of the President of the Republic, all the elements and all the representatives of the Ecuadorian state on behalf of the President. First of all, we want to thank the courage and commitment for all the forces of order, armed forces and police that in operation that week include more than 3,000 people have entered the prison in search of the most wanted prisoners. The operation continues.
Cesar Zapata, commander of the National Police, without even daring to mention the name of José Adolfo Macías Salazar, known as Fito, reported on the operation carried out to verify the escape, although not to expedite his capture.
The police carried out an intervention in the Social Rehabilitation Center in Guayaquil. They managed to seize several items such as cellular phones, sockets, plugs, white frames, and other items that were found. I must also mention that they were able to detect the absence of one of the inmates who remained in that social rehabilitation center. National Police, together with the Armed Forces, continue to investigate, but For that, I must emphasize that we have the support of the national government, the support of the Minister of the Interior, and also in this case, the persecution has already added.
The United Nations described as alarming the food situation in Haiti, where over 8.2 million people have difficulty accessing basic products. According to World Food Programme, the high levels of food insecurity are the result of gun violence and the economic slowdown. The United Nations agency warned that although the basic food basket is available throughout the country, many Haitians are unable to buy it due to rising food prices. On top of this situation, heavy rains damage large areas of farmland, affecting the agricultural yields of the Caribbean country. The World Food Programme warned that without an immediate influx of funds, there is a risk that even more people will go hungry. Congressional leadership reached an agreement that could avoid the government shutdown in 2024. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Mike Johnson, announced that they have reached an agreement that includes spending $1.66 trillion to fund the federal government through 2024. The measure must now be discussed by the lower house, where strong opposition from the ultra-conservative wing of the Republican Party is expected. The U.S. media projected a new government shutdown after January 20 due to disagreements between the parties to approve the temporary funding bill. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news, coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. On Monday, the Chinese government reported that the Secret Intelligence Service of the United Kingdom has been spying in the country since 2015. In turn, Chinese authorities pointed out that a person linked to the facts is in custody. According to the report presented by the Ministry of Security, the MI6 employed a person whose nationality was not outlined to carry out several missions. The person collected more than 14 pieces of classified information and set at least 3 intelligence reports. The spy, identified in the report as Huang, also tried to recruit for the British mission. Meanwhile, Beijing has urged London to properly handle their differences and respect each other's interests. Local media in Pakistan reported on Monday that a bomb killed 5 police guards in anti-polio vaccination campaign. In the turn, officials said a roadside bomb struck a Pakistani police truck carrying about 25 policemen assigned to a polio vaccination campaign in northwestern Pakistan. The attack, which resulted in 5 deaths, occurred in Mahmud Bahawar district bordering Afghanistan. And Anwar-ul-Haq, a senior government official in Bajaur district, assumed that the attack was carried out by a Taliban group. In Bangladesh, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina on Monday assumed ruling the nation for a 4th consecutive term following election held on Sunday. According to the Election Commission, Hasina's party won 222 seats out of a total of 299, consolidating her majority in parliament and extending her 15-year mandate. Hasina's victory came amid a low voter turnout of 41.8%. The opposition leader criticized the voting process and described it as the third in the last 15 years to be marred by credibility issues. On the other hand, the government defended the polls as open and inclusive. In this sense, Hasina said Bangladesh had set an example of holding a free, fair and impartial election. Paraguay is on alert due to a heat wave with temperatures that could exceed 40 degrees centigrade in the country. The Meteorology and Hydrology Department detailed that the extreme heat is threatening the Paraguayan Chaco and other departments of the western region, so it is expected that the eastern region will also be affected. On the other hand, the specialists expect temperatures to drop as of Thursday due to the heavy rains that will be developing since Wednesday, accompanied by thunderstorms. While indicated that the average annual temperatures are expected to average 20 degrees Celsius due to the proximity to the tropics and are expected to increase due to the global climate crisis that exists. On Monday in France, locals and visitors continue to face freezing temperatures that are forecast to remain below 0 degrees Celsius in the north, while flooding in other areas persists. According to Meteo France, the departments of Nord and Pas-de-Calais remain on orange alert for flooding due to the effect of El Niño, which exposes European communities to devastating flooding. While climate change brought some of the warmest months on record to France, it doesn't mean winter has disappeared. According to the Weather Service, more than half of the departments are under a snow and ice alert due to cold air masses from Scandinavia, where record temperatures of up to minus 43 degrees Celsius were recorded in northern Sweden on Thursday. Visitors in France talk about how the current ecological crisis is making winter in some areas not what it used to be.
I honestly like it. I'm a person that has lived his entire life in a tropical weather, always warm. So coming to Europe and experiencing the cold, experiencing a little bit of snow, it's quite fun. It's a dream, actually. But unfortunately, because of the climate change, you don't see a lot of snow now.
In Germany, farmers took to the streets, staging blockades with their tractors to protest against Berlin's plans to cut tax breaks for agriculture and end subsidies for agricultural diesel. The coordinated nationwide demonstration targeted motorway access ramps, in particular snarling traffic, and followed a smaller demonstration in Berlin last month. Furious farmers kicked off a series of crippling strikes, sinking the country deeper into a winter of discontent. In Berlin, dozens of tractors and lorries stationed in the city center blasted their horns to signal their anger at the start of a planned week of action. Rail workers, which likewise launched a three-day strike on Wednesday, with unions seeking a pay rise to compensate for months of painfully high inflations. Workers in sectors across Germany like metallurgy, transport and education have turned to industrial action in recent weeks. On Monday, Australian police detained a criminal syndicate that plotted to smuggle hundreds of native reptiles into Hong Kong as part of a market trade of live animals. Detectives began investigating the network in September last year after intercepting 9 packages bound for Hong Kong with 59 live lizards stashed inside. Authorities discovered more than 250 lizards after searching a number of properties scattered across Sydney, as well as a small number of snakes and unhatched eggs. Police said the captured reptiles were kept in poor conditions before they were bound in small containers to be sold in Hong Kong. Police added that each lizard could fetch as much as $3,360 on the black market, giving the total seized a street value of more than $820,000. Football legend Franz Beckenbauer, who left a unique imprint on German football as player, captain and coach, has died at the age of 78. Former captain of the German team in the 1970s, Beckenbauer had in the last year been suffering from health problems and lived mostly withdrawn from the public eye in Salzburg. Known in football-obsessed Germany as the Kaiser, meaning the emperor, Beckenbauer played a central role in some areas of the country's greatest sporting achievements. Born in Munich in 1945, Beckenbauer helped establish Bayern as Germany's strongest club. Alongside Mario Zagallo, who died aged 92 on Friday, and Didier Deschamps Beckenbauer is one of only 3 men to have won the World Cup as both a player and a manager. He captained West Germany to the 1974 World Cup title on home soil when they beat the Netherlands 2-1 in the Munich final. Then managed the team that beat Argentina 1-0 in Rome to lift their trophy in Italy in 1990. Beckenbauer, a commanding figure on and off the pitch, was named European Footballer of the Year in both 1972 and 1976. Beckenbauer made 424 appearances in the Bundesliga, scoring 44 goals, including in a 13-year spell for Bayern before joining Hamburg and New York Cosmos, where he finished his playing career in 1983. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and join us on social media: Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.